First of all, I would like to talk to you about Hungary in a slightly different perspective. We are always like a closed country, a closed group within the region, so there is not much information coming in or going out, I believe. But we are, I think, some ways very similar and very different. In our country, there are no government support for our cause, even if we talk about animal activism or vegan activism. Even human rights, I think, is a subject which is well behind comparing to other Eastern and Central European countries. But on the other hand, many of the Hungarian peoples leaving the country for some time, usually they moving to the UK or Germany, and when we're coming back, we can bring different perspectives with ourselves, and we can present this to our community, closer friends, and we can start very slight changes about Hungary. First of all, I would really like to introduce not my team, it's our team. I would like to start with Zsófi. She is one of the founders of MAVEG, the Hungarian Vegan Association. László is the founder of the MAVEG and the president of MAVEG. And he's a great designer. Ervin Nagy, he's one of the most committed animal rights activists who I ever met in my life. And Csaba Péntek, he's a great business person. And he's the writer of the book, The Price of Your Burger, which is only available in Hungarian language, but soon we are going to change that. And me, I'm István. I'm working in the marketing field mainly, but for the team I'm doing business development, marketing, and can we call it sales? Yeah, call it sales, yes. Because what we're doing is a sort of business activism. I think that's the right expression for our work. So how did it start for me? It was about a year ago. I walked on a vegan event in Budapest, and Bergo, he's the founder of MAVEG. Just when we met, he pointed me and he said, "I'm preparing something great. We need a marketing guy. You have to join us." And I asked him, "What are you doing?" "Don't worry, it's an event. It's gonna be big. It's a great thing. Just come." And I said yes to him on the spot. So you can imagine our relationship is great. I said yes to him without even knowing what we're gonna do. And after a couple of weeks' time, I found ourselves working on the Plant Power Perspectives Hungary, a conference which is a Central Eastern European initiative, and it's about presenting the plant-based diet and plant-based food to companies and bringing together these companies. And he's not here yet, but I would like to highlight Maciej Obtrewski work from Roślin Jelmi. I practiced this for a day. Because his support was like a huge thing for us. I think it could not get through this if we miss his help. So that's how we do. And that was the conference which we held last year, 2021 November, and I can say it was a big success. We were surprised as well because we had great attendance, and we organized a very great event, which was exceptional in Hungary. One of the food experts in Hungary said after the conference, it is not possible to organize an event, a food industry event in Hungary, which is valuable, exciting, and probably we could have done that because we did not aware of this fact. It's impossible. So yes, but we did it, and all the feedbacks, like couple of days after the conference, there was an article about the conference in Forbes Hungary's website with the title "Plant-based food. It's not the plant-based food, not a hype anymore, but that's the future of business." So with this approach, I think we reached hundreds or maybe thousands of business people who were interested in doing business in the plant-based area. We reach companies. I think, I don't know if you're aware of the other conferences like Slovakia, Czech Republic, and Poland. I think we reach similar companies like Unilever, Nestle, all the multinational companies who they are producing plant-based food, and also reached small domestic companies. They came as a speaker, and most of them came as a guest. And as I said, we had great attendance from companies who trying to enter or compete in this market, or some of them which are already had products. And one of the key takeaway was after the conference is there are no good place to connect these people, these companies. So they all of them working separately as a separate individual entity, and they did not know about even each other. So they started to build connection after the event and in between. So we had the idea we need to take this one step forward, and that became the Vegan Business Circle, which is a networking event. It's a business breakfast, as we call it. And what we're doing here, we're inviting 20 to 30 business leaders or people who are interested in this subject, and they can have a breakfast together, and they can introduce their own business, and they can get to know others' business. They can speak to like-minded people, probably all of those having the same problem. For example, taxation problems in Hungary, if you heard something about that nowadays. But yes, that became a very valuable group, and we started this in this year, January, and we still carry on and growing with new members coming every 2 weeks. So it's becoming a great thing. Actually, right now we are in Budapest, the capital, and the surrounding area. But we plan to take this out to the countryside and even abroad. So maybe we have to look for participants over here. So, and the other takeaway was after the conference, there is no real thing behind the plant-based movement. No alliance, no power, no political, I don't want to say political, but yes, this sort of power who can reach the political level or the regulators, legislators level. So we decided to enter this and start an alliance, which is NAGYOS in Hungarian for short, but it means the Plant-Based Food Alliance, if I want to translate it easily. But we get some very good experts working with us right now, a food industry expert. And what's happening in Hungary, the meat and the dairy industries and the egg industry as well, has a very, very strong alliances and great power even to lobby political leaders. On the other side, we have none. We have no power. And all these issues happening in Hungary, same as all around the world, trials and other things about labeling, food labeling, naming conventions. And if you have no support, no lobbying support, then you have no organization to sit down with these people and even just share your opinion. Without an alliance, you cannot really go there, at least not in Hungary. If you are an organization, you can go there, you can share your ideas, but that doesn't mean they're going to accept it, but at least you have a chance. At least you can say there is a different opinion about this subject. So we take this opportunity. We met all the business leaders in plant power perspectives from mainly from the multinational companies side. We met all the domestic local players in the vegan business circle, and we merged that to an alliance. And we have funny things which have never happened before, at least not in Hungary. We could put the people from multinational companies like from Danone to sit with the small, even I could say micro business leaders and let them know they're having the same problem. They get sued by the same institution and they're having the same trials and they have to fight because it's a trial, so they have to fight the same cause. Also, there is a big issue in Hungary is the institutional catering, the public catering, which is very different, for example, from Poland, because in Poland, I believe all the schools, hospitals, they are in one hand, so they have their own decision about their own catering. In Hungary, it's really centralized and regulated, and the key is the regulated. So what they cook, to put it simple, it's regulated. They have no choice what to include and what to exclude. For example, there has to be animal ingredients in every meal. There is no exception. And to change that, it's very hard on one hand, and might be can be our strength because it could be very easy. If I compare it to Poland, then you have to separate schools and institutions to reach the person responsible, which is obviously might be easier because common sense. If you can talk to a guy and explain them what they should do, they can do it within their own responsibility. In Hungary, it's no chance for that. You must change the regulation to reach these people. I'm not saying we are able to do this, but at least we start that initiative. So we started to talk to these people, and that alliance is key to that, to have them sit down with us. We have an idea with this alliance, and to be honest, with the conference and the vegan business circle as well. We want to change the Hungarian plates. We have a target, a goal. We want to reduce the meat from our plates by 10% within the next 2 years. We want to influence this, and I think we are able to do it. But to reach this goal, it's crucial to get in tap on the public catering, because obviously that's the biggest catering company in Hungary. We talk about 1.5 million people on average each day. So it's a huge volume. And within the leaders of public catering, the idea is already present, but they cannot do anything with it because of the regulation. So we try to reach them and help them to start out in this. That's a little bit of a timeline. As you could see, we held our Plant Power Perspectives event in November. We started the Vegan Business Circle in January. Our alliance is under registration. We hope we can get it done, the administration, by October. We want to present the alliance on the next Plant Power Perspectives conference, November. And our other goal is to, next year, we want to have the Vegan Business Circle on the countryside and by chance abroad, at least in Central Eastern Europe, working all together. Research. Research-wise, we're not very good yet, so we haven't done any own research on the country. Only we can work with the research done by multinational companies, most of them making meat substitutes, so that's based on their researches. They got different numbers on the same time, similar researches, so probably there is a bias in the research, depending on the company, but they're pointing in the same direction. The number of vegans in Hungary, I don't know if you can see it. Yes. Yes. No, it's not a proper research because there was no question, are you a vegan? But they asked around that issue. And you could see the EU and the global averages. As I said, it's not coming from one research. I use Nestle, Unilever, and ProVeg researches. So I think the levels are right, but please don't look the numbers because I think they are lying. And another initiative which would influence this research is on the following years. I wanted to talk about this. It's nothing to do with animal rights from far point of view, but those research is pointing out to us, most people are willing to change, and they're willing to change if it's about the environment or their health. And these two food labeling could be a game changer for that, because those people, they clearly who worried about the environment and they go into the shops and buying milk, they can see a green field with a smiling cow, and that's okay, that's good, so we buy it. But if they're going to meet an eco score D or E, then they can see the lie right there. So a little bit about eco score and Nutri score. It's not a mandatory thing, it's a voluntary thing within the EU. Some of the multinational companies already start to using the Nutri score. You can imagine that as the energy efficiency labeling on household appliances. So A, green is good, E, red is bad, and obviously the rest somewhere in between. And that explains to customers about the nutritional value of the given product. It doesn't mean animal products cannot get B or A, or plant-based products cannot get a bad valuation. It's a fairly difficult algorithm who is actually calculating these numbers, but we can say 80 or 90% of the animal products not gonna make it above C. So it has to be very organic, very, I don't want to say good ways of raising animals, but usually animal products gonna go C and down under, and most of the plant-based products gonna be on the upper end. And obviously that's another point where the price level can change for the plant-based food and for the animal food as well, because it will be harder to sell something in this area. EcoScore is a new system which developed in France and is doing the same about the food product and how sustainable it was. And obviously there is an opposition. You can see on the map the red countries are straight opposition and green countries supporters. I think Poland not marked on that map, but I think Poland is in the opposition coalition, unfortunately. Italy is already banned the Nutri-Score, so it's not possible to use it in Italy. Right now, I don't know here, but Hungary we can see the Nutri-Score labeling on mostly milk and meat substitutes product. And very important thing that can be used only on packaged goods. So on raw meat or raw veg, you're not gonna see any labeling. But I think it's a good start. And another thing we became aware of, that's the flexitarian diet. Flexitarian means all those people who's not eating meat in most of the days, but they give them breaks occasionally. So in very rare occasions they consume animal products, but most of the days not. So if someone just eat egg on every second day, then doesn't mean flexitarian. No proper distinction, but I believe we can say when someone eating animal products once or twice a month, that can be called flexitarian. All those researches pointed to us to this diet, because most of the people said they're willing to change their diet if it's for about their health, or if it's about sustainability. The two researches we looked for, they were saying straight away different values. Probably it was about the interest of the companies who made these researches. But in the end, that was the two biggest issue, and people said they're willing to change their diet. The third reason was obviously the ethical reason. So most of the people are aware of the problem of intensive farming and the problems of our food system. But they still not 100% convinced. And there was a group, which is a fourth group, which is very interesting for us, who are willing to change their diet because of financial reason. And I think that was new for us, and I don't know if any of those people think about that who working in that field. And talk about the price. That was the inflation from 21 June to 22 June on the OECD countries. And oh, we won that. No. Turkey won that. Well, I wouldn't put it there. Turkey was like 80 or 90%, so it was a huge number. But Hungary was 23.5% inflation, while the EU average was 11.3, I believe. So what's happening is the products are getting more and more pricey, and we're going to reach soon all those people who price sensitive. So there will be a target audience who willing to change their food consumptions just because of price, and that's about 5 to 9%. So we talk about a huge group. So I believe we can move a great masses of people within a very short period of time, because that inflation is not lying, it's there. So the numbers were 1 unit, and now it's 1.23 when they buying food. What can I say? We met yesterday Tobias Lénárt. While I made the presentation, I was not aware of if he's going to be here or not. But he said in his book, we will be able to reach the tipping point faster with the mass number of reducers than with a small number of vegans. By the time he wrote this book, I think it was 2017, there was no word for flexitarian, so he called them reducers. I think in 2022, what he said that day, 5 years ago, it became reality. So we have the opportunity to reach a huge amount of people who are willing to change. So thank you very much.
And now it's time for questions. So the first one, what is the most difficult in connection of plant-based companies in Hungary?
Sorry?
What is the most difficult in connection of plant-based companies in Hungary?
In connection?
Yeah. Yeah, it says in connection, but it's about connecting, yeah.
Hungarian mentality is not always simple. As I told you before, all of the people who I'm talking about, I'm working with, we all have exposure to UK, Germany, the world. But most of the people, they haven't got this exposure. There are language barriers. Hungarian language education is bad, but I don't want to talk about this because it's not close to this subject. But in the end, when you want to get not biased information from the world, you're not going to find it in Hungarian, but you find it in English. And because of that, so many people and so many companies living in the last century, the previous one, not the present one. So they scared about competition, they scared about each other, and that's we try to that's why we try to educate them when we invite them to the conference and the vegan business circle, and when they sit next to each other and they thought they are a killing competition, they realize they're not even targeting the same market, and they can live next to each other, and even they can help each other. So, but that's the first difficult thing to explain them. You come here, you sit down, you have a look, and be open. I think openness and accepting is hard for Hungarian people, and that's the most difficult thing.
How are you planning to target population that wants to change their eating habits just because of the financial incentive?
Mm-hmm. It's very simple. As I said, they got one type of marketing. I give you an interesting number here. The last 12 months, the Hungarian Agri-Marketing Center, which is a big marketing company for the meat and the dairy industry, they spend 5 million euros promoting pork consumption within 12 months. So if you think about that number again, 5 million euros promoting pork consumption. And on the other hand, our promotion is like none. So for us, there is no way just to reach the multinational companies who's got not the same but similar budgets to do the promotions. So if we want to reach these people, it's not possible without marketing cost. So we need Unilever, we need Nestlé, we need Danone. We like it or not, there are no money on our market to finance that opposition. So that's marketing and that's money.
What was the company's and other stakeholders' initial reaction when you started organizing the first plant-powered perspectives?
We were afraid of that. Especially we approached, for example, Danone, which if you sense that there is a huge gap between what they're doing and what they're doing with their other subsidies like Alpro. But what we find out, and if anyone heard Macei's talk just before me, when you start to talk to them, you start to talk to people and not companies. So if you can approach this as human-to-human communication, it will be on a different level. And surprisingly, they were all open, and they were happy to work together. Macei had an example, for example, from the egg industry. So they can work with egg producers together and moving forward. We had a similar exception. We invited one of the biggest meat process companies from Hungary, and actually invited not just to see the conference, but to talk. They called Pápai, they were called Pápai Meat, but they changed their name, Pápai Ízek, which means Pápai Taste. So they took the meat word from their company name, and they start to produce plant-based products once a week. So when they do the big cleaning on Sunday, Monday with the clean machines, they start to produce plant-based, mostly pea protein. And the CEO of that company came, and he was very open, and even reached the media because he had his talk without saying the word meat. And we didn't know, obviously. In the end, he let us know. He wouldn't even mention the meat word, and he was practicing for that for 2 days. But if you see that approach, even you would think he's your biggest opposition or enemy, they were open and they were human on the other side who understood what we're doing, and they still growing in this field. So what they done now, they don't use that, we cleaning the machine and we producing the plant-based product. Actually, they built a new factory for plant-based products, so there is no chance to cross contamination.
What is your personal motivation?
Okay. I'm vegan for 5 years now. Previously, I was worked in the meat industry for 4 years and the catering industry for 6. So I have food industry experience, and I saw everything from bottom to top. That would make me a good vegan activist, because anyone start to argue with me why I'm a vegan, I tell them this, and I think most of them, they get behind, okay, I have no more questions. So I see the chain from beginning the top. And the other hand, for us, we work in the business field. So I would say business, but we try to create a new kind of business. Our organization is non-profit, so we registered as a non-profit organization, and that's a lie. We want to generate profit. But our profit is not 10% more next year, 10% more next year. Our profit is 10% less meat on the plate next year and 10% less. So our profit is not money. Our profit is an idea, goal, a target, which would hopefully make this world a better place.
Which dangers do you see in involving those multinationals? Did the smaller domestic businesses react well on that, or do they feel like they are threatened by those multinationals?
That's a very valid question, and we found that problem. Most of the Hungarian domestic companies, the small companies, were afraid of multinationals, but when we had them sit together, talk to each other, they had different perspectives, if I can say that. So they work together even, and they have a connection. Obviously, we have to know the multinational companies, as they only target is profit. So they talk about money, they want to earn money, and that's their motivation. Obviously, we cannot control them. Our job is to help them in our product group, but not letting them control us. So we don't want to do the same mistake what, for example, meat and dairy industry made, because this oligarchic system and a couple of people controlling the whole industry. So we don't want to make that mistake. It could happen, but we have to be very diplomatic and very clever when we handle these big multinational organizations, because we don't want them to control us. That's the biggest thing I think I'm afraid of, but it's not the right word. I'm not afraid. I'm aware of this problem. If something goes wrong, then they try to control, let's say, an association or an organization.
In some segments of consumers, there persists the faulty perception that plant-based diets can be more expensive. Is this not true for consumers in Hungary?
Yeah, that's perfectly true. And there is always a point of view. If someone goes to the shops and buy ready food, which you just take from the packaging, you put it in the microwave and eat it, that's fairly expensive. When we talk about price parity, when the kilo of meat and the kilo of meat substitute is the same, then there is a bias again. Because if you think about lentils or beans, which is great meat substitute, it was always cheaper than meat. So I see the perspective from the consumer view, but they have to understand that food, not as like meat, but that can be beans, that can be lentils. There are many alternative food, whole food, which is much better, much healthier, environmentally friendly, ethically better than any of the meat substitutes. So I don't think the price should be a barrier for that.
Are vegetarian options in public catering allowed within the regulation? Could you work on adding more vegetarian options without having to change the regulation itself?
When we're changing a regulation, or at least when we try, I don't think we have a lot of chance to intervene in that field. Maybe once in every 2, 3, or 4 years. So I'm really the guy who like to go step by step, but not with this one. It's gotta be something big, and I don't want to follow that way, because I'm afraid if we say it's okay to put the cheese and milk and that day, that we creating an exception which is wrong and not serving our cause. Our step-by-step approach would be we try to follow the European examples when they have, for example, one meat-free day or a plant-based day on each institution.
Do you have positive relationship with the Hungarian agricultural food authorities? If yes, how did you decide that, and how did you reach that relationship with the authorities?
That's a relationship which is non-existent right now, but we made our first step to invite one of the state secretaries to the plant power perspectives. Obviously, we haven't got any answer on that. There's a big conflict of interest, but we try them. We approach them as a friendly approach. We more use the sustainability and mention the EU farm to fork strategies and these words, and that's how we try to approach them and reach them. We were not successful yet with this, but we're trying.
Could you elaborate on that trials you were talking about because of labeling?
No. I'm saying no like this because our association is not registered yet, and that's why I don't know the rules and regulation in other countries, but Hungary, you were not invited to these tables where these decisions made, while you're not registered association, for example. That's why we wanted to create this, because we want to be on that table where they talk about this, and we have to give them our opinion. So really little results we had. For example, they tried to call meat and dairy substitutes to imitation. Imitation is a bad word in Hungary when we talk about food. That means when something is very bad quality, they cannot call it like as a product. And a really small goal with the substitutes, they're going to call it substitute and not an imitation, for example.
And that was the last question. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for István.
Thank you.